Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Our forum is presented by the Heritage Area Agency on Aging and the Johnson County Task Force on Aging. The program today is about avoiding scams and fraud that's targeting older Iowans. And our presenter today is Mr. Bobby Hansen, who is the Regional Director for the Better Business Bureau. And I'll turn it over to him. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Angie. Everybody wave. Can you hear me? Am I coming through? Okay, awesome. The other two people on the call with me are Chris Coleman, who will be in charge of our PowerPoint presentation from his computer right there. Chris is our CEO and president of Better Business Bureau Iowa, which, Chris, how many years we've been around? 82 now? I've lost track a little bit.
We're halfway through our 81st year.
81 years the Better Business Bureau has been in the state of Iowa, connecting and helping people, connecting with good businesses and avoiding scams. Scams seem to have gotten going a lot more in recent years, but the Better Business Bureau has been around as a national and international association, a nonprofit for over 100 years. Started up in Minneapolis and has expanded and all over the world, basically. So with the elevator speeches, provide ethical standards for businesses to follow, best practices, and helping consumers avoid the pitfalls of getting scammed. So that's what our presentation will be about today. We have maybe 20 slides or so. The first few of them are just to try to get people loose and interested a little bit of my history of who I am, where I've been. I'm the regional director here in Cedar Rapids region, covering the corridor, and pretty much go all over the state of Iowa. When I was first brought in over 5 years ago to connect with our larger businesses, and not just our small local businesses, which a lot of people think of when they think of the Better Business Bureau, but we're all encompassing and just wanting to get out there and help people avoid getting scammed. So presentation, power of teamwork. These are just some of the teams that I've been involved in. You see Dowling, you see the University of Iowa. Packers was my 7th, 8th grade football team on the south side of Des Moines. I don't think we ever won a game. We were like 0-8 in 4 years. Yeah, that wasn't a great experience. So I went to basketball in high school at Dowling. So as part of this teamwork, here is a photo of my father's team when he was drafted into World War II out of Ogden, Iowa. He is from Ogden and wanted to get out of Ogden after graduating high school and was called to a service report May of 1943 upon graduation from high school. There he is on the bottom right. He's the little guy. He was a belly gunner in a B-17 bomber out of Ridgewell, England, flew over the English Channel and made a lot of bombing runs on Dusseldorf and the ball bearing factories in Germany and the oil refineries in Germany to help end the Nazis' occupation over in Great Britain and Poland and all over Europe. But no fear in that guy. He'd sit there in that glass bubble and made sure the machine gun worked and protected the bottom of the B-17 bomber, which won the war in Europe. So there's another team right there. Final Four. Maybe those on the call that are from the Johnson County area would recognize that Final Four team. Been 41 years. I was a freshman on that team. Just kind of did whatever it took. And the saying that we put into this slide is, don't aspire to be the best on the team, aspire to be the best for the team. And then that's sort of how we go about. That's sort of how I've gone about my athletic career and post-athletic career, just be a part of a team, and very proud to be a part of this Better Business Bureau team here, which is covering the state of Iowa. Another team that I'm on there, man on the left there is Gary Dolphin, my broadcast partner for the last 24 years, I believe, maybe 25 years on the University of Iowa men's basketball broadcast. We had an exciting win last night against Wisconsin. Hard fought game, and we'll probably see them again on Friday night as we get to the Big Ten tournament, open up at 8 o'clock Friday night.
Hawks.
There you go. Against the winner of, who is it? I think Wisconsin and maybe Penn State. Penn State's got to win their way into it. So it'll be another tough game. Picture on the right there is on Fran McCaffrey's patio when he invited Coach Olson back. You see Lute right in the middle there. That's that Final Four team, the guys that were able to make it over there. Lute right in the middle there. Tree Henry right behind him. Steve Waite, the guy that made the shot against Georgetown. Craftsison. Coach Spiros right there in the front. Ronnie Lester, you see right there in front of me. I'm behind Ronnie. My man Mike Aarons, who passed away, is right there in the striped shirt. Mike is a wonderful man. He's gone too soon. Wade Jones was one of our managers. The man on the far right is Kevin Boyle, who does the UNI Panthers men's basketball radio broadcast. So we're all surrounding our favorite coach right there, Lute Olson, who is a Hall of Famer. And we owe it to Fran and Margaret, who invited Lute and Kelly back before he passed away, so we could all get a chance to spend some time with them. Fran and Margaret were real close with Lute and Kelly through the coaches Nike tour that they would go out in the summertime. This is another quick little slide. 1990, when I was barely 29 years old, maybe, but to be in the presence of greatness there. Larry Bird on the left there, Michael Jordan on the right. Eventual winner was Craig Hodges, a teammate of mine a few years coming up there. Craig Hodges, number 14 in the back right. He won this 2 years in a row, but it was during All-Star Weekend in Miami, Florida. I finished 4th in that, but my claim to fame is Bird finished 7th and Michael Jordan finished 8th. So those guys were last and dead last. So the shoes Michael's wearing there, he flipped them off and gave them to me, took them off and gave them to me, flipped them over to me as I was lockering next to him. So we wear the same size shoes, and I still have those. Those are my first pair of Air Jordans that I've gotten from the man, the greatest of all time. And he always took good care of me when I was with the Chicago Bulls, and even when I'd come back to watch him play in their other championships, including the Last Dance. He always wanted to talk about golf and talk about family, and just an outstanding teammate, and someone, again, that goes back to the Better Business Bureau. We talk about trust. There's that team right there. There's a group of 12 men right there and 4 coaches who had 100% buy-in when it came to trust. So BJ Armstrong is behind me. He's on the top left there. BJ next to Michael, Horace, Bill Cartwright, Scottie Pippen, John Paxson, all the way down the list. Stacey King right there. It's been a lot of fun lately. I turned 60 years old here back in January, and my daughter and wife, unbeknownst to me, contacted a lot of them and got video happy birthdays from them. So I've connected with a lot of those men on that basketball team right there. So next slide. And you'd be tired of, this is your life, but this is the home team right there. That's my wife of, let me calculate, 34 years, married in 87 during the All-Star break at this time. It's Mary right there. And this is our COVID Christmas. This is how we all celebrated Christmas. That's the family portrait there. Mary and I are down in the bottom of that picture. And middle daughter and her son, or her husband, and with their son and daughter up there. CJ's with the Norwalk School District as an assistant principal. Carly's with Mid-American Energy, Berkshire Hathaway. 2 daughters up here in that picture. Chris is circling there with a boyfriend, Ryan, there, who is hair challenged. He likes to joke about it. His last name is Baldy, believe it or not. Ryan Baldeseramo, but he goes by Baldy. And I told him it's impossible to call you Baldy, Ryan. He said, no, everybody calls me Baldy. But anyway, we have 2 more wonderful grandchildren over there with Bailey, our oldest, and Michael in the Santa Claus picture right there. So that's how we all celebrated Christmas. And we cannot wait to all get back together here. We get through this pandemic. Okay, we get to the Better Business Bureau. We believe, and if you don't have integrity, you have nothing. We rate our companies from an A+ to an F. You certainly don't want to be messing with F-rated companies, because there's a reason they are F-rated. There's a whole slew of an algorithm, a formula that grades these companies, and it's best to check before you hire anybody to do anything. You don't want to be messing with an F-rated or a D-rated company. Some companies we run across, you'd be like, well, they're a great company, but they're rated a C or a B-. Well, we work to try to clean those grades up, and then they might have an outstanding complaint they haven't responded to, or something that's just messing up that grade. And we've done that work for a lot of companies to get them back up. We want all these companies to be A+ rated, and you got to be pretty bad to be dropping down to an F. So we do have, believe it or not, a few F-rated companies and companies that we have had to rescind their membership, their accreditation, because of lack of communication, lack of transparency, just doing it the wrong way and not responding with us. But we try to notify the press when we have to rescind an accreditation when we're in the area here. So next slide. Chris, anything you want to add to this one here? There you go. This slide here, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. Check the Better Business Bureau website out at bbb.org. Your computer browser should automatically pick up the fact that you are in this area, and it should be an Iowa website that we go to, the Better Business Bureau Iowa. You can do a lot of things on there. You can read and submit reviews. You can check out advertising reviews that we have done. We check out all kinds of ads on a daily basis when people are making claims that are unsubstantiated, or they're the largest, or the area's largest. So we check them out, and Barb does a ton of that work, along with her auto line work of complaints that come in against auto dealers. Another interesting piece right there, two more interesting pieces on this slide. The scam tracker, it's find out where scams are happening, and you can check out all over the country. You can zero in on Cedar Rapids, and you'll be surprised that you'll say, oh yeah, I got a call from the energy company, or I got a call from a grandparent scam. But we try to keep track of all those on a national basis, sometimes internationally. But go to bbb.org and /scam tracker, and you can find out all the scams in the area. Go ahead, but
lost one.
Say it again. All right. So we're going to move on to why are seniors targeted and why are they vulnerable? As you can read the slide right there, there are a number of reasons why they're targeted by the scammers. And scamming must be easy, because it's just like you would think these people would put their efforts and time to some real reasoning, but they just continue to swindle and try to get money from our older Iowans and our elderly people. But you're more likely to be at home. Yeah, my dad would sit there all alone, and he'd answer the telephone, and he'd like to talk to him, but you answer the door. Those of us above 60 years old, you tend to be a little more trusting and less likely to suspect a con artist. But I think our education that we're trying to get out there, along with more and more articles through AARP, or just things that are out there through, I picked up one from a post office the other day. I was there getting some postage. It says, don't be a victim of a reshipping scam if you get a package at home and they want you to move it on. So more and more companies are creating educational materials for people to avoid these scams. So just be very, very vigilant when you get a phone call or somebody coming up. But a lot of times you're lonely, susceptible to a friendly pitch. You might not be able to get up on the roof, like I can't do it anymore, and make your home repairs. So that leaves you open to pitches from these itinerant workers coming in from out of town, knock on the door and offer to do repairs cheaply, offer to redo asphalt. They got an extra load of asphalt. We're doing the neighbors down the road, and I see you need some patching in your driveway, and we'll knock it out for $500. Well, guess what? You get a bill for $5,000. So make sure, as Barb will tell you, we defer to in writing. It has to be a contract. And Barb, if you jump in right here, a contract has to have 3 parts to it, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Binding contract are going to be offer, acceptance, and consideration. And consideration, of course, is going to mean the funds that you give someone. So while we want people to have a written contract, we want them to be very careful when they sign a contract to make sure they completely read and understand all of the elements, and to make sure that they understand what their obligation is and what the obligation of the company is going to be as well.
Yeah, and a lot of these times it is a knock on the door, and do not let anybody in your home. Meet them outside, and weather's getting nicer, and we've all been slammed by this derecho thing in Johnson County and Iowa County, and up here in Lynn County. It just, every house took damage up here. I know the Iowa City area, Solon had a lot of damage, North Liberty. So it's gonna ramp up once again here. And Barb is spending a lot of her time. I send all my complaints. I get phone calls up here and people just don't know what to do, as they gave money to a contractor and never showed back up, or they went out of business. And these guys came in from out of state, and they don't know anything about it. They couldn't hire workers and they took money. So that's something that we're really wading through right now. And the wintertime put a little bit of a halt on it because the roofers can't get up there, but it's going to really spring back into action here. And it's going to be hard for people in this area to find contractors to do a new deck or do a new sunroom. So get on those lists early and talk to somebody local if you can. That'll help keep you out of trouble, and check the BBB. Why are seniors targeted and why they might be vulnerable? Well, you might be on a fixed income and you're making them vulnerable to promises of high investment returns or savings on medical care. You might own your home free and clear. Now you become a target for predatory lenders on these reverse mortgages. If you want to, you hire a contractor and he puts you into a high interest type of a bank line of credit that they put in their back pocket. So just be careful. Once again, this is just seniors. Please be careful out there and make sure everything is in writing. Next one, Chris. Yep. All right, here we go. Here are the most common scams, and we've got several of them here. I'm trying not to go too fast, but took a phone call this week. She called and talked to Barb as well on Publishers Clearinghouse. This lady was told that she won $2.5 million. Didn't think anything of it. And then different phone number called her 2 days later. It was a small town just north of Cedar Rapids that she had won a new Mercedes-Benz. And it just, they were asking for information. And at that point, that was the red flag for her. She's glad she talked to us at the Better Business Bureau just to verify, just to let her know that this was a scam. And I've talked to senior citizens when I used to be able to go out and meet you guys at a Rotary or at what's the place up here in Cedar Rapids, the assisted living, the long-term care facility. And when I asked, have they ever got this call, every single hand would go up in these places. So we try to work with those in Oak Knoll or wherever it might be to, when people have questions, like, why did I get this phone call, to let them know that 100% of the time they did not win the lottery, that this is all a scam. Another one with government imposter scams. And, the government's giving you money, government's giving you, asking for your social security number. We have to suspend your social security checks. I've heard this scam after someone has died, a spouse has passed away. Then they peruse the obituaries and they find your information and say, the account will be suspended. We need the social security number. So again, those are all scams. Chris? Home repair improvement scams, they'll show up, especially after a storm. We had hail up here in April. We had the derecho in August, and they show up, they flood in from out of town. They put a 319 phone number and vinyl on their cars. If you look at the license plate, they're from Wisconsin or they're from Texas. But they just set up shop here. We've even had them call us and want to become accredited quickly, but we have a waiting period before they can become accredited. We did have an issue with a local contractor who was just not showing up and doing the work. He was not local. He was a out of town guy that came in and tried to become local. Turns out that it was a mess, and was trying to scam one of our board members to redo his deck. The tree fell on the deck up by Cedar Rapids Country Club. Never got a price. John didn't have anything in writing, and I think a deck $8,000-9,000 maybe for a big one. Well, they gave him a bill for $42,000. Oh. Yeah. So I said, John, do not until the sheriff shows up demanding payment, don't give them a dime. So turned out that they had no records of the material list. They had nothing. in writing from the contractor. So we're working through that one right there. But they'll come uninvited and show up at your door, and then you'll do bad work, shoddy work, and give you this crazy bill. So you have help if that ever happens to you. You let us know at the Better Business Bureau, or Barb has a direct line to Attorney General Tom Miller. At the state of Iowa, he is a consumer advocate. He loves to hear what is going on out there in the field, and the best place that he hears it is from the Better Business Bureau. And many times he's taken criminal action against contractors and those that are scamming people with charity phone calls or whatever. All right. The old grandparent scam. Grandma help, grandpa help. They'll call and they'll pretend to be your grandchild. My dad would get these calls when he was living alone. And I remember one time coming in and he's like, "Hey, is Adam okay?" I said, "Sure. Yeah, he's working down at Ream's Frozen Noodles and doing a great job. And well, I got a call. Said he was in jail, said he was in Mexico and in jail and needed bail money." So I said, "No, he's fine." But my father was really, really hard of hearing and can't hear. He likes to mess with them, but he'd just hang up and move on. But it happened to him numerous times, whether it be a nephew or they'll call you the first time they'll call you. And a lot of times it could be in the middle of the night and you're startled by the phone ringing. Your landline seems to be the big problem here. Get rid of your landline and you won't get these calls, but they'll call and you'll hear grandma or whoever. You say hello, it's a man or woman. They'll say grandma or grandpa, and you'll say the grandchild's name, Billy, and then they hang up. So now they got the name, and now they'll call you back and say, "We got your grandson Billy here, and we're gonna cut his hands off or cut his head off if you don't send us $10,000." So this happened to a friend of mine, girlfriend's mother in Jasper County in the Newton area, and she ended up sending over $50,000 in cash, 3 separate transactions, to a P.O. box in New York City because she thought her grandson was really, really in trouble. And it got to the point of, we asked the banks, "Why did you give this money?" Well, they can't ask why when you withdraw your money. She has a substantial amount of money, but caught it in time where she would have continued sending that on. And when you send cash like that, it is gone. So the smart thing in this slide right here is if you do get that call and you are concerned, ask the caller questions that only the grandchild might know. Like, what's the name of your cat? What's the name of that little dog you used to have? Or where's mom and dad? What's their address? And you'll probably get a hang up really quick as those people will run away. They know that they can't get you. So be careful of that grandparent scam. It seems like somebody's selling lists out there of age generated database lists. Okay. Phishing. This is what you'll receive an email advising there's a problem with your bank account, or you get a phone call, it could be, and click on a hyperlink, or provide verification through your social security number or PIN number. Emails, websites could look legitimate, often containing a company's logo, but they're fake. And then they're just using that information to steal your identity. Banks and other legitimate companies never request confidential information in this manner. And how you can, if you do get this in an email form, take your browser, your mouse, and hover over the address bar, and you'll see up top up there, whether it's real or whether it's written in some crazy, hieroglyphics type of a form. And any legitimate website will be secure. It will have a padlock up in that address bar. And always look for the padlock. Always look for HTTPS, semicolon, / /. The S means it's secure of the websites that you visit. So if it's not, just click out of it, delete anything that's come your way that way. So be careful of phishing emails. All right, Chris. Phony charities. This is huge thing. And we actually have a whole division at the Better Business Bureau, national or international, called Give. And you can go to bbb.org, or you can just type in www.give.org, And we have a list of thousands of national charities, and whether they're accredited by the Better Business Bureau as doing business the right way. And there's 20 items that we go through, the people at the Better Business Bureau, to accredit charities. A lot of local we don't have, you got to kind of, these GoFundMe pages and the Facebook stuff, but you just got to kind of know what's a good one. And if it's somebody that's a neighbor that needs a little help, great, they're not scamming you, you'll know right away. But some of these national calls you'll get, a lot of them with the police department. I was scammed. I thought it was a buddy of mine from the Des Moines Police Department. It was like $100 or what, but very, very, very persuasive, I guess. And a lot of times you'll hear the Marion Fire Department, the Coralville Fire Department, Coralville Police Department, they'll have to put out a press release that says, in the area, people are calling, they are not associated with our department. So check out give.org for some national charities. You might be surprised at who's accredited, who isn't, what they've done to become accredited. You have to, I think in our formula, it's 65% of the money has to go to the charity. 35% can be kept for administrative, for office, turn the lights on to pay the salaries of people. And that's a pretty generous breakdown, 65-35. I prefer an 80-20 rule, where 20% of the money to be kept in-house and 80% should go to the charity. And I just read up on where the attorney generals are now banding together to shut down a fundraising group that 99.9% of the money they kept, of $120 million recently, hardly sent anything. So they were charged criminally a couple of years ago. They used several different charities with the word cancer in it, the cancer recovery fund, and that was over 150 million, and all that went to private jets and boats and houses, and just bad people. So be careful of, you work hard for your money. Don't be flushing it down the drain, by giving it to somebody trying to persuade you on a phone call. Investment scams, yeah, you're going to get calls, letters, and free dinners, free lunches, come to a seminar. They all love to have your money now. The market is flying, so just be careful. Any respected financial professional, they don't have to be accredited by the Better Business Bureau. We have many in the area that are, but they are fiduciaries, and that means their number one thing they have to abide by is that all decisions have to be made for the good of the person who is investing the money. So make sure that they understand that, and don't let them pressure you. Ask a family member, maybe your sister, your brother, might have a professional that they've worked with. Ask your children, ask your banker if you have questions, but just keep those line of communication open when you're dealing with investment scams. Next one. Yep. Got a question? Good. All right, here's one that my predecessor, Barbara Green, used to take great pride in, that she had helped recover some money for an elderly couple that the lady was just buying, trunk loads full of miracle cures. And, this goes back to the old snake oil salesman when the Better Business Bureau first started. Natural cure, miracle weight loss, all these exotic potions are in magazines, are in TVs. Be skeptical, of their claims. And, Barbara used to say, I have a lot of wrinkles. I earned those wrinkles, but ain't no miracle lotion going to take my wrinkles away. So she would always be on this one. And the herbal supplement, you can spend thousands of dollars on all this stuff. And really, when you go and they'll break it down in a laboratory. A lot of the weight loss pills, Barbara would tell me that they were nothing but sawdust inside of those pills. So just another way, they are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. One thing that I do tell people, and my son-in-law was selling for Advocare, I think it was, but look for a seal. There's a seal on most vitamins and any pill bottles like that you buy as a supplement, that they are been approved by the National Vitamin Council. But if you look at the store, just grab a couple, turn it around, and make sure they have that seal on that, on these miracle cures that they have. Next one, Chris. Medicare scams, getting that time of year eventually where we'll be signing up. And a big scam that we heard last year or the year before was they're issuing new Medicare cards. Now they were going to you got to update your card, and now that's an easy way for them to get your information. That's not true. They will contact you and by mail, and you'll be able to update any of that. But at the end of this presentation, we have some phone numbers. So if you want to make sure you can write down the Medicare, the Social Security phone number, our phone number, Attorney General's phone number. But Barb, anything on this Medicare scam? Because I know it's coming up and it's something we've talked about on TV a lot during that time. Barb might have taken a break. So Chris, anything you want to add on this one? Okay.
Barb and I were both muted. And she might be coming back too. Barb, go ahead.
Go ahead, Barb.
The Medicare scam, I'm on Medicare and I get the calls all the time. I don't know that they call me because I already am on Medicare, but a couple things, and this is mentioned here on the slide, they purport to be Medicare. They ask you questions about your medical status, including stuff like, oh, do you have sore knees? Do you have a sore back? Do your ankles bother you? And before you know it, you have unwittingly signed up to have some medical braces sent to you. And the problem with that, of course, is Medicare is not going to necessarily pay for it if it's not prescribed by a doctor. And even if Medicare pays a portion, you're still going to be responsible for the rest. Plus, it's something many times you don't even want and you don't really need. And so it is just very, very challenging. And the bottom line is just never share any of your Medicare information on the phone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Chris, next slide. Oh, yeah, here's one. Barb wrote an article for us. BBB had an article in February, wasn't it, Barb, on in the Cedar Rapids Business Journal there about, people are lonely. You might be a member of, I don't know what the apps are out there for people meeting people. There's a senior site that you can meet people, but a lot of these people will get into, communicating with someone, and then all of a sudden they're going to start asking you money for medical expenses for their parent or a family member, or they want to travel and see you and meet. So all of a sudden, once you email those, Mr. Romeo is gone and disappeared. So they will take all your money in that, but we might snicker and laugh at this as kind of, oh, how could anybody be so silly? But when you talk about, when you're lonely and heart, and you're talking to somebody, they've started up this communication chain, and all of a sudden they feel like they can start asking those questions for some money. So Barb, what else was the article about that you included? It was a great article, I thought, for the time.
One thing I do want to mention is just last week, I talked to a woman who was deeply involved in a romance scam. And she was a 70-year-old woman. So she was part of this demographic, a couple years older than I am. And she had met someone on a dating site. I don't know what site, but she was engaged to this person and was referring to him as her fiance. She had never met him. She had seen him. She had talked to him on the phone. And he was telling her that he was in England working on a project. He was an architect, and that he was going to be sending her some gold bars to hold for him, millions of dollars in gold bars. And she was concerned about that and the safety of that. And I think the issue there was that he hadn't gotten to you need to send me some money to pay for the shipment or something along those lines. That would have been the next step. But fortunately, she got out of that situation and realized that that person was not going to be her fiance. And if the individuals refuse to meet or give you a picture or do a Facebook chat or something, or Google chat, it's pretty clear red flag that there is something going on. And the thing is, these people are very, very persistent. This woman had been talking to this man for 6 months. So it was a slow workup to the big payoff. So that is something for all ages to be very cautious about, the romance scams.
Yeah. Thanks, Barb. All right, let's move on, Chris. Phony prescription plans. Receive a phone call, letter, email on a low-cost prescription drug plan. It might look like it's coming from Medicare, and you sign up and send them money, and nobody is honoring. None of your pharmacies is honoring those. So my advice would be to, I have a pharmacy. When I need something, I go to Walgreens or Hy-Vee. You have your favorite pharmacy. So, just ask your pharmacist, will you honor this USA drug plan or whatever the crazy name that they'll come up with. But for seniors, yeah, this is a big deal because pretty much all of us are taking some sort of a prescription that for your health. And, they're just rolling the dice. Once they get a hold of you, we can save you hundreds of dollars a month on this, especially those that are diabetic. I mean, it's just a crazy amount of money that the diabetes plan, testing kits and all that stuff. So we'll get to some COVID stuff in a minute, but that opened up a whole new avenue of scams, these COVID scams that are coming. So be careful on changing your prescription plans. Identity theft. You don't want this to happen to you. It'd take a long time to get this figured out, but caller demands your bank account or credit card number for security reasons. And I've had this happen to me, or you get an email from the IRS asking for your social security number in order to send you a back tax refund that you supposedly did not receive yet. So everybody wants to get a little money in the mail. So you just let your guard down, and all of a sudden you've given them your social security number. So just be smart. Once they have that information, they can open up credit lines, credit cards, get loans in your name. And so yeah, just be really careful there. Most credit card companies now have a really good fraud department. Personal story, I got a new phone. I think I got an Apple 8, so it's been a while, but so I get this new phone, and all of a sudden I get a text from AT&T, and I have no idea what they're asking for. They were asking for my PIN to unlock the phone, so I gave my phone to my oldest daughter, who is in the IT world, and so she got him on the phone, and she's talking to him. And next thing I know, I look at my AT&T bill a month later. There are 2 brand new iPhone 9s or 10s with the full, $1,000 phones, and I'm like, there's no way. Why would I buy 2 phones? I have a brand new phone here. So I called the fraud department there at AT&T, and the guy's like, really? You didn't get these 2 new phones? I said, nope. He said, you've been scammed. So we will take care of it. They quickly, delete that off your account. And me, Mr. Bleeding Heart, I'm like, well, unfortunately, there's some college kid walking around with a phone that he thinks he bought from his buddy for $100, and it worked for 2 days. And the AT&T guy says, well, oh, well, buyer beware in that circumstance. But that's what they do. They buy these phones for cheap and at stolen phones, and then pawn them off for $100, $200 to these college kids in the area. And then, once you catch it a month later, they shut them down. They have technology capability to shut those phones off immediately. Too bad they couldn't track it, but you're not getting to the person that sold it. So that's identity theft right there. They got to have your social security. Protect that at all costs. How you protect yourself? You're right there, Chris. Yeah, and Barb, I'm pretty positive with the do not call registry. We're all tired of robocalls and all that. They're doing a much better job of cleaning that up. Yet I just saw that during this pandemic, lockdown, shutdown, whatever you want to call it, that the number of robocalls increased. and the number of complaint calls into the Better Business Bureau nationally increased, what, Barb, like 25, 30%? I think, so yeah.
I would think so. I think the thing to remember with the National Do Not Call Registry is that will reduce your telemarketing calls. Many of the calls that people get and most of the scam calls you're going to receive are not from telemarketers, they're from criminals. And so unfortunately, the Do Not Call list doesn't necessarily help with that. I know there's been some recent federal legislation and some efforts through the FTC to help with robocalls, and it is happening slowly, but I hope things do get better.
Yeah, on my telephone, my cell phone is the only phone that I have. We got rid of our landline several years ago. It has an app that will block scam calls, telemarketer calls, I should say, not scam calls, but telemarketer calls, or but that only, it's a national database and it only knows what it knows. So until that call is reported as a scam or a telemarketer, and it's just a click of a button on the app, and you can report that phone number that just came through as a telemarketer or spam. A lot of times you'll hear spoofing calls, and you'll see a phone number come up with your area code 319, very similar to your area code, your phone number. They just, it's crazy, the technology. And I'm of the belief that there is some liability out there with our cell phone carriers, these big national companies. When somebody's going to lose hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, that they're going to go back and they're going to say, well, AT&T should have known that these were telemarketers, these were scammers, and we're not at that point yet, but they're doing a much better job of having these robocalls hopefully come to a complete stop. Don't do business with someone just shows up at your door. We've talked about that. That's usually not a good thing. And don't give personal and financial information to any unknown caller. Back to door-to-door business. We used to get so many when we were in West Des Moines. My wife, it annoyed her because the dog would start barking and going crazy, and she put up a no soliciting sign in the window of the door. So she just points to that when someone's knocking on the door. Now, if it's a young lady selling Girl Scout cookies, or you got popcorn from the Boy Scouts or whatever, it's your neighbor, obviously, you're going to do that. But if it's just somebody walking around trying to sell magazines or what, and make sure they have a license. I know the city of Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, you have to have a license to solicit door to door. They do in Des Moines as well. So most municipalities, just ask them for their license. Are you a registered salesperson? And they are some of the most persuasive salespeople I've ever dealt with. That's that power of that door to door magazine salesperson. All right, Chris, 800-888-38. Go back, Chris, if you would. I'm sorry. If you want to write this number down, I think you have to, Barb, on the Do Not Call registry, you got to register every year, I believe, unfortunately.
It's every few years, and you need to call from the number you want blocked. So
okay.
This with both your cell and your home phone.
Yep, 888-382-1222. Or if you're on the internet, donotcall.gov. That'll certainly eliminate a lot of those, not all of them, but a lot of them. All right, next. How else to protect yourself? Check with the BBB. Obviously, it's real simple. Everything we offer is free. There's no charge. We are a nonprofit. We stay in existence with the monies we collect from our members, our accredited businesses. When we sign them up, they believe in our mission. So anything you deal with us as a public, there's no charge to that. So check with the BBB at bbb.org. Check with family members, neighbors, friends. Keep that line of communication open. If you have to get a contractor or repair person, make sure it's somebody you know, somebody you've dealt with in the past, or go to that BBB website and it's easy to click into it, your area, what you're looking for, and there's even a checkbox that you can say, I only want accredited businesses and I only want A+ businesses. So it'll rate them in descending order all the way down. So we use this a lot over here in Cedar Rapids after the derecho, helped many of friends over here. They all wanted to make sure we're trying to use Better Business Bureau accredited businesses, and in a couple of instances it helped them out, and we avoided some trouble. you can just read the reviews online as to what the experience has been with many of these people. And you can check their address. Are they a pop-up business, or did they come up from, West Texas and following a tornado, following a windstorm or whatever? Final point on that is don't yield to high pressure, avoid being emotional on these sales tactics. Read all your contracts through and seek advice from other people that you trust. All right. Never pay money in order to win a prize or collect sweepstakes. If you're sent a check, that scam, isn't it, Barb? They'll send you a check for, $10,000 and send us back $2,500. I think that's kind of how that one works. If you're hiring a contractor, this is great advice right here. Try not to pay any more. Try not to pay anything up front if you can. But if they're demanding payment to get you on their list so they can get you going, try not to pay any more than a third of the total price that is expected to be. A lot of them are asking for half, 50% of that. But a lot of the complaints that we heard, in Barb in particular, with money that was given to these contractors up front, and then all of a sudden they never showed up. So it's been pretty bad up here in this area over here. Anything you want to add to that, Barb?
Well, just fortunately, now Bobby worked on a case with me on a local contractor there in the Cedar Rapids area. And on that man, your county attorney there did take steps to file criminal charges for theft. And I think in light of so much of that kind of trouble going on, I think the county attorney in your area is going to be more willing to file criminal charges, where in the past they would usually consider it to be a civil matter.
Yeah, good point. And I actually was so upset when I talked to these people. Their son's trailer up north side of Cedar Rapids, a tree fell on it and crushed it. The baby and mom were in there. They were just happened to be on another part of it. But now the trailer park people were telling them they had to get that thing off there, or they had to pay another $500 for the rent of the trailer spot. And or they were going to demolish the trailer themselves and send them a bill. So they were worried and hired this guy, and they had a truck, and there were trucks all over Cedar Rapids in the week following that derecho on August 10th. But they hired this guy in the parking lot, gave him a couple $1,000, Dad did, and then he never showed up. So when they called me, I got the specifics before I sent it to Barb, who really dives into these things. He was like, oh, I should have never given it to him. I should have never did this. I said, don't worry about that. You did, and we're going to do the best we can for you. So I called the guy, and I'm like, you want to go down there and put him in a headlock and like just give the people the money back. But you gotta not get emotional. And he was very rude to me, and I just said, okay, I'm calling our people, and we're going after it. So he did that to a lot of people. It wasn't just that one person. So it turned out, and that's why the county attorney jumped into action and filed charges and hopefully shut them down. I have not followed up to see what they're doing. Probably got a flooded court system right now, but hopefully they run him out of business.
I have a
All right.
question.
Yeah. What?
My name's Pat. So,
Hi, Pat.
hi. So does it depend on, okay, so I had a small repair job and I knew the company, I knew the appliance store, but they were very demanding. They demanded my credit card up front and I'm like, so that's okay if you know the people?
Well, yeah, how well do you know? Define no, I guess would be my answer to that, but it's who do you trust?
Yeah. So as long as you trust that you could, if they didn't do the repair or something like that, then you could.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where are you at, Pat?
Iowa City.
Okay, you got a lot of damage down there as well, North Liberty and all that. When I drove around those areas, it would just break your heart. But it seemed like there wasn't enough workers in the area.
No, this is not that kind of repair. This was like, this is like on an oven type of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
That's odd, Pat, that they would ask you, normally in something like that, you got to put a new burner element on it or something. They come and they send you an invoice. Yeah, no, I know. And again, we live in a small town, and, everybody knows everybody in Williamsburg. So they kind of, they don't ever send us a bill. And sometimes I got to call them and it's like, hey, you gonna send me a bill for that? But yeah, just be careful, I guess. With Barb, you add to that.
One thing I will say to Pat and to everybody else, it's always safer to pay with a credit card. So
There you go.
always try to use a credit card as opposed to writing a check or giving cash, because you have the dispute process through your credit card company if there is an issue. So my guess is they wanted to lock in your time and they wanted to charge you for the visit, the repair visit.
Yeah.
Chose to do a repair with them or not. That's probably why they wanted it. But in a sense, you are better off certainly paying with a credit card or using a credit card on anything.
Or paying with a credit card for somebody to do work on the road.
Good. You guys have a question, the Walshes? Nope, you good?
Hi, Bob.
I
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
When I've gotten calls that it seems to me are probably a scam, I hang up and then I call back the number,
Yeah.
and repeatedly the response is that the number you called is a non-working number.
And that's because it is a scam. It's 100% a scam, and those numbers,
How do I report that?
but those calls are for outbound only, and so they don't take any inbound calls. You can report that to the FTC under the do not call list, but again, those are people who are likely criminals, not people who are trying to sell you something.
And I would say, Bob, that a lot of those people are not even in this country. They are offshore. They're down in a foreign country, I will say, and really not a ton of recourse. And that's where a lot of this money goes, and gift cards. That's why they want these gift cards, or they want cash. So again, they're not even operating out of Florida. It's further south, way down, and it's just, there's so much bad out there. We have a file full of scams and that gas card skimmers. When you put your credit card into the gas pump, just give that thing a little jiggle to make sure it doesn't pop off. They had a big thing going on in Des Moines a couple of years ago where somebody had attached skimmers, I guess they're called, to get your information off your debit card. And then they had actually set up a video camera, PIN camera up top, so they could watch you put your PIN number in. Now they got your number and your PIN. And I've had calls from credit card companies, or you just put in $400 worth of diesel. Have you been up in Canada lately? And it's like, nope, that would be a scam, but somebody's gotten your credit card number, and they take care of it. They wipe it out, and that's why, that's Barb's point right there. Make sure if you're doing business like that, just do it with a credit card, because there is recourse, and they have complete fraud departments to help get rid of that. How can you protect yourself as we move forward here? Just keep careful records, transactions, all your bank and credit card statements. A lot of that stuff is digital now. You don't even get hard copies. Check them for accuracy. Get yourself a dependable shredder. They sell them at Staples or wherever. That I go through a couple every 5 years, and one every couple of years, and just got a new one, because I shred everything that comes through. They steal your identity going through the trash, and it's crazy to think that, but that is real out there. Don't send gift cards to somebody you don't know. Gift cards are for high school graduations, and you can't think of what to buy your grandkids or something. You send them a gift card, but not somebody asking for payment in a credit card. And we've stressed this last one several times. Don't let door-to-door contractors into your home. Don't offer them. It's Iowa nice. You want to be nice, and you want to offer them a drink of water or something, but just keep them outside on the stoop. Do talk to them outside, and if you're going to hire them, get everything in writing. And as Barb said, get the scope of the work. Make sure it's in writing. Here's some numbers if you want to write down how you can get some help. Better Business Bureau, we're right there at 1-800-222-1600. That seems a little cold, I guess, an 800 number, but it's an 800 number that rings right to Des Moines. And those are people that can help you out. Send an email to info@dm.bbb.org. or our bbb.org/Cedar Rapids is our local website here that'll keep you up that scam tracker, and it'll help show you if you want to write a review. If you aren't happy, you don't want to file a complaint, you're not happy with service, write a review up there. We make sure all the reviews that we get in are what we call vetted. We check them out. We make sure it's just not two restaurants battling each other across the street, so they'll put a bad review. The food was bad, the service was bad. You've had that happen on other websites where they've gotten in trouble, but the Better Business Bureau makes sure we check it, double, triple check it for accuracy. 211, first call for help. If you need some help, just dial up 211. We've talked about the do not call registry right there. Get your free credit report. Check your credit report out. A lot of credit cards will have credit reporting software as an add-on. You can just, they'll alert you if any new accounts have been opened, but get an annual credit report, annualcreditreport.com. There's the phone number for the free copy. You can request one free per year, or you can pay for one if you're really concerned. It's not that expensive. The Iowa Attorney General, Tom Miller, our man, he is a consumer advocate, consumer protection king. He's at 888-777-4590. He loves to hear about bad service. And if you think you've been scammed, call us, call the Attorney General. There's your Social Security Administration number. It's socialsecurity.gov, 800-772-1213. Those are all places you can get some help. Next one, Chris. All right, put this in here. Let me close by saying a few sayings that coaches would say the darndest things, but cliches are always right. There is no I in team. Don't take on these scammers alone. Talk to your kids, your neighbors. Look at all the contracts, agreements before you sign. Just take the time to sign them, to read them, then sign them overnight. Like to sleep on it, and then the offer will still be there. Just let them know you've got to discuss this with family. Never make a gift or buy products without checking with your family first. Another saying: no pain, no gain. Do your homework. If you're going to spend more than $50 on something, you better do the research and see if they're good or bad. Read the reviews. I read the reviews on any product that I buy or anybody that I'm going to do business with. Practice makes perfect. Here you go. As senior citizens, you've lived and worked your whole life for everything that you have right now. Think of all that as the practice part, and this is the game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the day. But don't blow your lead on some scam, and people have. Use the same discipline and skills you've used your whole life to get to that point. The great Michael Jordan said, if you do the work, you get rewarded. There are no shortcuts in life, and everybody's looking for that shortcut, but it is... Get it in writing. Don't take the shortest route there, but take the smartest route there. Take your time. Don't be pushed into any decision. Do your homework on top of all that. So there's a thank you. We appreciate the time. That's a picture that my daughter took when we used to have fans in the stands. That's at Wrigley Field on Iowa Hawkeye Day. Fran McCaffrey, in his first few years, he threw out the first pitch because he said he can't sing. So they asked me to do either or. I said, whatever. I can't throw the ball anymore, but I can't sing either. So anyway, we had a blast singing the Take Me Out to the Ball Game back a couple of times. Yeah, and we're going to get some baseball coming up. I just hearing from my kids. They have season tickets for the Cubs, and they're going to open up 20% capacity, I think, right now. So everybody's excited about getting back amongst each other. So hopefully everybody on this call has gotten vaccinated, has been safe. Again, the COVID vaccine, the COVID stimulus money, you get a lot of that dirty scams that are out there. And they're offering to sell you the testing kits. And in the beginning of this, back in April, every call we got was people had ordered personal protective devices, face masks and thermometers, and they were all coming from China, and they weren't coming here. So some may have eventually made it, but the most of them never made it over here. But again, use that credit card if you're going to buy something like that, because you do have that recourse. So we're going to open it up to some questions. Excuse me. If you guys got any questions for me or my BBB teammates, we hope you enjoyed this little presentation and hope maybe you've learned one or two things out of it. And we're always open to we try to educate. A big part of what we do is it's education, because it makes our work a little bit easier. We don't have to be backtracking and, okay, she sent $54,000 away. How do we get this back for her? So, go Go ahead. Just anybody to pipe up, unmute yourself and ask a question.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you, I had a colleague who, there was a scam recently where she got a letter in the mail that she had applied for unemployment. And is that a rampant thing going on?
You know,
Barb?
that's actually maybe not, I mean, yes, it's a scam, but someone could have definitely applied for unemployment in her name. That is,
Yeah, we had two people in our little group that both it happened just in the past couple weeks.
you have to be very proactive on that and contact the Iowa Workforce Development Department of Labor and talk to them about what you need to do to remedy the problem. That's definitely a COVID-related scam. We've seen
Yeah.
more than just the price gouging and the non-delivery of products. That's a really bad one.
So any opportunistic type of thing that's happening, people go for that.
Jump right on it. Yeah, it's sad. Like I said, you'd think if they were, that much initiative that they'd get a real job and try to be, good citizens. But no, it must just be too easy to sit back in their headset on and make these calls. And they're buying, I read an article recently that Barb sends me this information, but they're buying these phone numbers for a penny a phone number. So for $1, you can get 100 phone numbers, and a lot of them are age-generated lead lists. There was a local company who sent out of business. I think they are now changed their name to something else, but they have large, what we call a call center. And they were cited by, I believe, Attorney General Miller to cease and desist from phone calls to those 55 and over. But that's where they were buying these lists at, a tenth of a cent per phone number and then selling them for a penny a phone number. So yeah, it's out there, and it's out there in our backyards. More questions?
Hi, I have a quick question about computer-based scams.
Sure.
So my father-in-law, would be using his computer and a pop-up would come up and say, you need to send us money so we can unlock your computer or fix your computer or something like that. And he did it. He shared his credit card number and he was charged. Is this, again, something common, and what kind of recourse can you take in this situation?
I'm going to let Barb expand on it, but it's common, Angie. It's really common. And it's just, you got to be really careful on where you're clicking around. A lot of it comes from clicking around on ads. It might look like a real Chevrolet ad or something, but hover over that address bar and make sure it's Chevrolet or Ford or Adidas or whatever you're looking at. But they'll piggyback onto those things, and all of a sudden you're sent somewhere, and then they lock your computer up. It's happened to municipalities. City of Muscatine had their computer system hacked, and it was hundreds of thousands of dollars ransomware that they put on there. Unfortunately, the computer does great things, allowing us to connect, and technology like this where we want to be in person but unable to do it now. But there's just as much bad stuff out there as well. So Barb, can you expand a little bit on the computer ransomware?
Sure. I think one of the things for example, what happened to your dad on the tech support, his computer probably wasn't locked. They made him think that. And usually on a deal like that, when you get a pop-up, you can X out of it and it goes away and you're good. But the tech support scam has come and gone in popularity. I think we had a company or some people that were associated with a company in India that were working out of Otley, Iowa. And that particular organization finally got shut down by the FBI. And I'm on tap at some point to go testify in their trial. It's a really big scam with millions and millions of dollars. But I think the thing for people like your dad, don't click on anything that you don't know what it is. And I say that even on your cell phone, you may get some bizarre link to click on. The pop-ups might not necessarily be what you think they are. If you X out, it might just go away. If it doesn't just go away, you need to actually take your computer someplace or work with a reputable company known to you. One of the problems with the text scam, and the one that I'm specifically talking about, was they made an ad that made it look like they were the Geek Squad. They were called Geek Tech. And so their ad came up at the very top on a Google search. And so people thought they were talking to the Geek Squad. They thought they were talking to the people that they needed to have help them. And in fact, those were the people that, you know, allegedly helped them, but then charged them $900 for the help, more than a new laptop would cost. So
Barb is right. Yeah, you do X out of there quick. Just Control Alt Delete, or just power down your computer as quick as you can, and just let it sit, reboot, and hopefully it would go away. And computers are getting more sophisticated now. You're getting better antivirus, anti-malware software, but make sure that stuff's all up to date. I use the Geek Squad. They've been good. Malwarebytes is another one that I use, and they'll collect. You just might be looking at University of Iowa research stuff to talk, basketball. They'll be blocking. They have a counter up there in my address bar for Malwarebytes. They'll block 900 invasions, or just people that are trying to latch on to that website to gather that information. It's crazy. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you, but make sure your computer virus software is way up to date.
And then also, just as a general rule of thumb, never share your password over the phone with anybody. I mean, maybe if it's someone that you reached out to specifically to help you, but if someone calls you and says you have a problem with your computer and we need to get into it, just hang up.
And change your passwords if you can. Keep a list of them and change them out on every couple of months. The main ones that you use. I know it gets a little old after a while, but that's a good way to protect yourself as well. More questions?
Thank you very much.
Bobby,
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have one quick thought just to
That's
share.
from our CEO here. Here you go.
We all make mistakes. I've made mistakes. And one of the things I want everybody to know is these scammers are really talented. Bobby said it at the front end that if these guys had decided to sell insurance or do something legitimate with their life, they'd probably make a lot of money and be very successful. And that's unfortunate. Even though you're sad and embarrassed, reach out for help. We really think that most seniors especially don't tell anybody when they've been scammed or they have some problem. And the Better Business Bureau is here to help. And if it's not something we can help with, we'll direct you to the right agency or group that can. So don't be afraid. Don't be too embarrassed, because we'll try and help you, but knowing your story will also help us help others in the future.
Great point, Chris. And on this call, Barb Carson has been there a long time with the Better Business Bureau, and it's her life's work, and I trust her with anybody that I has an issue. Barb will work till the end of to get it resolved and get an answer. Now, a lot of what we do does not happen overnight. It will take some time. A complaint that would come in, we send it to the business. They have 2 weeks to respond. Once they don't respond in 2 weeks, another certified letter goes out, another 2 weeks goes, and then no response. Then it's noted, and that's when the grade drops from an A to a D or to an F. So again, we to reemphasize Chris's point, we only know what we know. If you don't tell us, we won't know, and someone else will get scammed. So don't be embarrassed at all. It happens all over the world, all over the country. And I think a lot of these scams have gotten worse over the past year, because we've all been in our homes and kind of stuck in front of the TV or the computer, and you get a little bit bored, and you're clicking around something interesting, and then trouble will follow. So not any more questions. We thank you. Again, we're here for you. Been here for over 80 years in Iowa, over 100 years all around the country. And these are dedicated people that are here with sole purpose to help you out to avoid getting scammed.
I'm sorry I had my screen blank, but once I pulled up the slides,
Yep.
go back and turn my video on. So I was stuck in this mode, but I enjoyed seeing y'all and thank y'all very much. Good job, Bobby.
Yeah, great job, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yep,
Thanks a lot.
bye-bye.
Bye.